Welcome back to Visual Trigger.
You know, the thing I haven't done for a while, and I just got scans back today, is let's see, is do like, what did I do? I think it was last summer. I edited some scans I'd shot, and I just got scans back today. So I'll do a screen recording, and I'll do this, and then I'll put that somewhere, and then go between the two. I think. Let's see, filter. No, how do I want it? How would I like to? Oh, capture time. Where are you? How about file name? That put them in more of an order, I think. This is our little friend Steve. He owns part of a winery. Fantastic wine. Fantastic. I mean, my wine broker calls it the Richebourg of Yamhill County, which is pretty amazing. There's Steve again, pouring some wine. And it's the coolest little, like, ragtag little barn, and moderately priced wines, and the wines are fantastic. Yeah, he didn't really even notice me taking pictures, and I was shooting an MP with a 35 Summilux. Let's see, let's turn this. Oh yeah, here we go. I was like, why do they look so dark? I didn't expose it that dark. It's because I didn't have my screen brightness up. Such a nice dude. So those vines are over 50 years old. In fact, I think they're 50, like 50 or 51. No, 50 this year. They were planted in 1971. They are gigantic. And these vines, let's see, am I recording? Oh yeah, the tally light is red. And I used to have to go, oh, am I recording audio? No, now I've got audio going into the camera. It's so fantastic. So fantastic. These vines are own rooted, so that means that they're more susceptible to a disease called phylloxera, which killed, all of Burgundy. It's killed Bordeaux. Now we tend to plant on something called disease-resistant rootstock, and they're like treated against phylloxera, but it's amazing that these 50-year-old vines are still here, because we don't have, and people say, oh, there's no difference. There's when you compare 4-year-old estate fruit to 50-year-old old vines with a winemaker who knows his shit, it's ridiculous. That's my girl's leg as compared to that gigantic, and that trunk is bigger than her leg. And his pruning was a week ago, and his pruning was probably about the same as mine. His rows are I swear, I think they're 12 feet across, and that's why I don't think the phylloxera was able to spread, because when you have tighter rows, I think the diseases in general tend to spread quicker. I don't know. I'm not a viticulturalist. I enjoy looking at digital photographs. Okay, I'm going to have just a tiny bit more of George. Because saying I'm going to have just a tiny bit more of Dickel, that sounds fucking bad. I think I'll put a little bit more it this time. Let's see if this calmed your ass down a little bit. I only think I shot like 3 rows. Or rolls, sorry. I'm looking at rows, that's why. And that's a pretty good, that's pretty good perspective of how big these vines are. And it's so funny. I don't even think if you look at all the shoots that are coming from the horizontal and they're running laterally, most people say they want 4 per side, and I don't think he shoot thins. Huh, I should go back and check. Yeah, his vines are old, which I just think are so fantastic. I don't even know what's on these rolls, so like, maybe I'll have to like redact if there's something that someone who wouldn't want to be seen. Yeah, I was wrong. So this car got. I mean, I don't know what just makes a car burn, but this is the second one I've seen lately. I saw a van that was burned to a crisp, and then I saw this thing that. I mean, it got, and because it's in black and white, it's Tri-X. It's you. And you know these scans are good. I'm not going to bore you with adjusting like a little bit of like contrast and shit. I'm just looking at photos, and I thought I'd roll some tape on it. Those are beehives behind it that are making clover honey. I can't imagine how much each one of those damn boxes weighs. I can't imagine how much honey is in there. It's probably ridiculous. Huh. I must have been near an end of a roll. And here's so that shot, that jab that's right in front of that healthcare worker. Yep, that was mine. She didn't mind if I took a picture, which I thought was cool. She said the newspaper had been there, so she's like, "You with the newspaper?" And I said, "No, not with the newspaper. Just I'd like to document what happened in my life." I think that pretty much typifies. Once you got the jab, you had to sit there for 15 minutes. They kind of observed you to make sure you didn't do the fish flop. And I feel like I can still smell. I don't know. Maybe it's the alcohol swabs I smell, but I swear I could swab. And I wanted a different shot, but I wasn't like, beggars can't be choosers. I mean, our beautiful valley. See, this one, that would have been probably better. It's digital. We were invited to it was pretty cold out actually, a dinner, barbecue, cookout in our other friend's vineyard with a group who was filming for Som TV, and those dudes, I don't know, one was a host, one guy, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. When people say they're involved in TV, I kind of like just glaze over. My friend and his 2 dogs, very sweet dogs, and his gigantic vineyard and their big forest. Oh my god! So this used to. I never even would screw with the way this was. So I was so used to looking at Lightroom with digital photos that they were always in order, but the scans almost never were, and I don't know why, because it was. But when I did the drop down for file name, it put them in. One would suspect that your lab isn't going to just do one strip and then, or I don't even know how they do it. I've never asked, I've never watched, but I know they use a great machine. I mean, what is it? Oh, fuck me. Okay, let's see. I did. I'll go to the develop. Bump the exposure a little bit. A little more contrast. You take the highlights down just a tiny bit. I kind of like where the shadows were. Take down some, pump up the blacks a little bit. Yeah, that's not bad. They have a spectacular property. And it's so small, like we even know the people in the house below that. And we know the people who own that vineyard. It's a small world. Yeah, so I took 2 exposures just to see what it was going to be like. And so we had a massive, massive fucking ice storm. Huge ice storm. And we all have more firewood than we know what to do with. In fact, in my debris piles, I've been putting a little bit of firewood in there just because I have too much. And yeah, I know Greta Thunberg hates my ass for that. Randoms. Our friends, random photograph. That was the same day those Psalm TV people. So some of those people, I don't know what happened there. What happens when you just pump the contrast? Oh, that's interesting. I guess I specifically was looking at the flames because it was fucking dark out. Everybody has a mule, a gator, and there's like 2 other varieties, but they're like little side-by-side 4-wheel drives. They're fantastic. We went wine tasting with some friends who came up from LA with arguably one of the most talented guys who's up here. His credentials and his talent are... Most people don't have those here. And almost everybody has a barn cat, and there's a reason. The fucking mice will... There are so many mice and voles. And I didn't know until we had a barn cat, but there's rats too. I never saw any rat. I never saw any rats except for the ones that my cat eats a third of. He's brutal. I know that I thought I'd rewound all the film on something, and I looked in and there was just like, I still saw film on the edge. My camera needs a CLA something like bad. So these 2 frames, I think that's what that was from. I'm almost positive. I ventured into Antifistan, which is Portland, most people, but we call it Antifistan. So, you know what? Not everybody calls it that. I think it's fucking funny because it's Antifistan. I wondered what this would look like with just a little bit more contrast. Bring the exposure just down a little bit. Near the highlights, stop them from blooming a little bit. There's a lot of information there. What does it look like if you just copy those? Not the crop. Huh. Yeah, I don't hate it. I stepped back a little bit because I noticed that there was a juxtaposition between the older gentleman having his coffee and reading and the dude outside panhandling. Huh. And whatever you can do in the darkroom, I think you are absolutely able to do the same kind of things digitally. And I know that I have friends that shoot for agency, like wire services, that they can't touch it at all. And it's so disingenuous because back in the day when they made prints in the darkroom and then those ended up in the newspapers or on The Wire, they did some doctoring, and I mean not even doctoring, just what some dodging and burning, which yes, that is technically doctoring, but oh no, that's the one. Take down the highlights a little bit. Give it some, because it almost looks like he's looking at that dude outside. He could be. I don't even know if I'd crop that. It gives you kind of a sense of place. Fantastic bread. Yeah. I was happy I made some frames. That's what you call a burn pile. I named that one after Greta Thunberg. No, yeah, that one right there. Let's see here. Yeah, I really don't make a lot of adjustments to my... And I mean, do I even have all the brightness? I mean, it's within... It's just when it's so bright, it hurts my fucking eyes. These are some of our goats. Hey, buddy. Yeah, I wouldn't... I mean, I know that the scanning operator on the hell is that? The front. I think it's a Fuji Frontier. You know, I know the op is, and these guys do. They're 1 and 2. I know there's another lab in Los Angeles I used to use, but they treated a friend of mine like an asshole, so I won't do business with them anymore. And there's another group in the South, hipster dudes who do a nice job. Like, seriously, the cult of weddings or cult of wedding photographers, it's real. But at least some of those people are keeping labs in... I mean, helping keep labs, because nobody shoots film anymore. My boys. That little dude's really like a pygmy of the pygmy goats. Well, he's the dwarf of the dwarfs. These are Nigerian dwarfed goats, and this guy he's on that end of the genetic pool where he's super tiny, and that's how they keep making these. Not us. These guys just they are a petting zoo, and they eat things. These are some of my girls, and then the watchful rooster back there. I don't know if you've ever had chickens before, but they are the weirdest birds. I mean, I really enjoy watching them, but they're very strange birds. I have no idea what that was. He was going to win $1 million. And see, that's funny because I will take this contrast and just give it a little bit more contrast. Maybe, there we go. That's where I would see the exposure. I mean, I'm pretty sure I exposed it that way, but the scanning operator probably didn't see it the way I did. I thought that was hilarious. Like, rural, crazy, middle of nowhere. And there's Queen Elizabeth in some dude's random truck. And this guy was out in the middle of a field soaking fucking wet, aiming that sprinkler. And that sprinkler's a fire hose sprinkler. It's not just like, this could go, I'll bet you 300 or 400 feet. And I'm sure he's like, what is that guy doing? I think I would straighten the horizon out a little bit. Yeah, that's about it. Knock the highlights down. Give the contrast a little bit. Yeah, that's what I do. More goats. I always want to have goats in my life just because they're amazing. Is that it? I knew there was only a few rolls. Let's see here. Yeah, that's it. Well, hey. Yeah, I think. Well, here's the little. I think I started a few frames in, but this goes all the way back to the beginning, and they give you little contact sheets. They're pretty cool. Not that I ever look at them, but yep, that's my buddy. Yep, that's where I started. So let's see here. Let's see. Stop. Stop screen recording. There we go. Yeah, so that's how that was editing a few rolls I've shot over the past month or so. I still super enjoy making frames with that camera and that lens. I that is never gonna die. But anyway, I shot this on the same day as the last one, so it's not like I have the same goddamn shirt on, and I'm still having a little scotch. And this time I did have double. Well, I haven't had it yet, but I had 1.25. So see you next time.